Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ether Hub and more Magic the Gathering lore. Today is the start of the Innistrad Crimson Vow lore season. We got our first drops of previews along with the very first chapter of this set's story. If you'd like to get a nice primer for Crimson Vow, I suggest watching my comprehensive history video on the vampire bloodlines of Innistrad. It's a fresh video which you can find linked in the description below or on your screen right now. It's a great way to start Crimson Vow, as it gives you the base knowledge we have right now on vampire history and life on Innistrad. So I really suggest giving that a watch. For Crimson Vow, I'm also going to change up the formula of my videos just a little bit. I've been doing a lot of longer form content, which I really have enjoyed because they're so jam-packed full of information. I know you guys like them too. But I thought with these weekly stories, I can cut them down into smaller chapters, for shorter videos spread throughout the week, for those who maybe want something a little shorter but more frequently. Don't worry fans of the long form content though, I'm still working on complete history videos as we speak. In fact, the next one is on the world and story of Alara. But for these individual lore chapters, they may be a bit shorter. With all that channel housekeeping out of the way, we turn our eyes to Innistrad as the sun has set for the final time and defeat seems absolute for our heroes. The midnight hunt is upon us, only the predators are no longer werewolves. Stirring in ornate castles has intensified and vampires sink their teeth into a struggling humanity. This is chapter 1 of the Crimson Vow lore written by Arsenault Rivera, Blood Tithes. Stenzia sleeps soundly. The sleep of the undisturbed, the sleep of the carefree, the sleep of those utterly without worry. So sleep the vampires within their spires. They have no real need of sleep, but the peasants have a need for it, and that makes it almost a novel thing. Wouldn't it be delightful if, now, at the height of our power, we slept? It does not last long, an hour or two perhaps, a nap, a joke, a gesture, a passing fascination. But it is the best hour the humans of Stenzia have had in weeks. With the moon high in the sky, though their bodies may long for a moment's respite, there isn't any to be found. For when the vampires wake from their little jest, they will doubtless hunger, and when they hunger, they hunt, and when they hunt, people die. Grigori presses the knife to his mother's wrist. She does not move, she does not stir, for she too is asleep, and has been for some time. 2 nights, it is difficult now to keep track, after the Harvestide massacre, his mother simply fell asleep, refused to wake. He had seen her before, so full of hope, carving her own effigies to burn in the streets. He had seen her after, when the moon refused to set, skin full of wounds, something in her now broken. Innistrad will endure, she had said to him. Another prayer the angels did not feign to hear. And he sees her now, weeks later, still asleep, sallow-skinned and thin-framed, chest rising and falling. His mother. Her blood drips into a small glass bowl. It is likely worth more than anything he's ever touched in his life, perhaps worth more than anything he's ever touched altogether. But it is not his. The decree hanging outside his door was very clear on that part. Blessings and good tidings upon the reader, for the day of most splendid joy approaches. We eagerly await your tithes, 1 bowl of blood for each resident, once a night until the festivities. We have even been so generous as to provide you the bowls. Mind that they are enchanted, we shall know if you, ungrateful beasts that you are, shatter them. Our representatives will be by to collect. Do not make the mistake of offending them. You know I should think the consequences of such foolish actions. We hope that this found you well. If it did not, know that your blood will serve no matter your condition. You are not exempt. Your eternal liege, Olivia Voldaren, unquestioned Lord of Innistrad. As surely penned by one of her many vampiric lackeys. He watches his mother's blood drip into the bowls and wonders, idly, what she would have made of such a proclamation, if she would have burned it, like he considered burning it, if they would have fled together for any other place than this, Stenzia. Once, he had loved this place, its spires, its secular air, its traditions. Everywhere on Innistrad there were traditions, of course, but only in Stensia did it feel like they had proper application. In Kessig, they only suspected they were surrounded by werewolves. Here, the presence of vampires was as natural as the presence of the plague. But how could you manage a plague that had so changed? Some of the villagers had taken up jobs in the castles nearby. If you worked for them, they said you were safe. But sometimes you die out there in the castles while you're on the job. And what's your family to do then? And now, the Tithes. The people here used to think they were safe, but even those who risked work in the palaces of the damned had to provide their blood. Nothing felt right anymore. Grigori picks up the bowl of his mother's blood. He kisses her forehead. With a fingertip, he wipes the rim so that none spills on the ground as he carries it outside. Everywhere his eyes fall, there is death and there is emptiness. Weeks ago, his friends lit candles and sang songs outside their homes. Weeks ago, effigies burned in every window. Weeks ago, he could not take a step outside without seeing half a dozen of his friends grinning, arm in drunken arm, as they danced on the roads too frightened to walk. But the streets were empty now, too busy working, most of them, and those who didn't often died. It hadn't happened all at once, like the massacre, but it had happened all the same. These days, the only people he saw on the roads were not people at all. Those who could leave had left, though where he could not say. Things had gotten worse in Stensia, certainly, but they'd gotten worse everywhere else too. From the scarce news he'd gathered, nowhere was safe anymore. In this everlasting night, they never have to rest. Where could you go to hide from the moon? The life-giving silver light of the moon is now only another kind of pallor upon the world. Grigori sets the bowl down next to its twin, the one he filled an hour ago. Weary from loss of blood and loss of hope, he sits on his haunches and stares up at the moon. Black bats streak across the silver, a swarm thick as crows on a corpse. And like crows, they found something to carry. Ornate black envelopes, slashed with white and red. He sees them as they soar past. Some break off from the others. Two head straight for him, each stopping before the bowls. They pick them up in their little mouths, his blood and his mother's, and for an instant, Grigori considers killing them. It would surely be an easy thing to snap their necks. But within the day, could he even call them days anymore? They would come for him, and for his mother, and nothing at all would change, except that the two of them would be dead. Innistrad would continue on, dying and undying. The bats take off. Grigori watches them go. He heads back in to take care of his mother. He can only hope she, too, is sleeping soundly. Alright, Vorthos fans, that was a creepy and just fantastic introduction to the current state of Innistrad after the eternal night takes hold of this world. We peer into the state of humanity as it struggles to adjust to this new way of life, having all their joy and hope ripped from them and reduced to nothing but beasts of burden for the vampiric upper class. They provide blood donations, as it were, stuck in a cycle, a system that demands payment or death, but sometimes that payment is death itself. The vampires of Innistrad are confiscating blood at an unsustainable rate, yet no one dares try to stop them. Still, what is it for? What are they planning? We may know, but the helpless peasants, as the vampires see them, don't even deserve to know. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching, checking in, and enjoying this story with me. If you had a good time, please consider supporting the channel by hitting that like button, notification bell, and sharing the video with friends on social media. It all goes a long way in helping build this community. And until next time guys, see ya!